안녕하세요. Let's talk more about expressing possibility in Korean in this lesson. Let's go. Let's learn the combination of ability and possibility. Let's see the English sentence first. I might be able to help you study Korean. The reason why we are teaching you the combination of the Korean assistant verbs is to let you understand how Korean sentence structure works. Korean is one of the agglutinative languages. Yes, it's a $5 word, which roughly means you add another word to the end of a certain word to let them have a certain grammatical function together. The word agglutinative is from the Latin verb which means to glue together. So you should remember that in Korean, you also add things to the end of a word to give them a certain grammatical function. That's why you add a particle to the end of the noun or pronoun and add assistant verbs to the main verb, okay? Let's see the English sentence again. I might be able to help you study Korean. In this sentence, the entire you study Korean part is going to be used as an object of the verb help in Korean. You learned about this a long time ago when you started our main lesson. If you don't remember, please remember it now. It's very important because it's a little bit different structure from English. But you can understand the concept because help is a transitive verb, and a transitive verb can have an object. And an object should be a noun, pronoun, or in a noun form. Therefore, if you want to use you study Korean part as an object, you should turn it into a noun form. That's how it works in Korean. Again, the entire you study Korean part is going to be used as an object of the verb help. Let's rearrange the words then. The subject I comes first, of course, and the verb help will come somewhere near the end of the sentence. The entire you study Korean part will come right before the verb help because it will work like an object of the verb help, as we told you. You need to rearrange the words in the clause you study Korean because it also consists of a subject, object, and verb. Let's place the subject of the clause you first, and then the object of the clause Korean, and then put the verb of the clause study at the end of the clause. But as we told you, this clause is going to be used as an object. Therefore, it must have a noun form. So let's put the gerund studying instead of the verb study. And then you need to add a grammatical element which indicates the ability and expresses possibility to the end of the verb help in Korean. So you add be able to and might right after the verb help. You put be able to first because possibility is your final judgment about the ability to help. So you put your final judgment might at the end of the sentence. Got it? So the sentence structure is going to be I, you Korean studying, help be able to might. Let's make a Korean sentence together then. I. You don't have to mention the subject when it's understood by the listener, but let's mention it this time to say that it is me who might be able to help you. Which particle do you want to use for the subject? Yes, let's use the subject particle 가, 제가. If you use the auxiliary particle 는, 저는, it will have the nuance of comparing or contrasting. For example, it can have the nuance that others might be able to help you study Spanish or English, but I might be able to help you study Korean. Or others might be able to help you study science or mathematics, but I might be able to help you study Korean. Do you understand the nuance? You don't want to include those kinds of nuance in this sentence. Just want to say, I might be able to help you. Therefore, let's use the subject particle 가, 제가. You Korean studying. You don't have to translate the subject of the clause you because the listener is already listening to you. Plus, it is an honorific sentence. It's very hard to find a right way to say you in Korean, so just skip it. Korean, 한국말, or 한국어. Let's use 한국말. We learned that 한국말 is actually pronounced 한국말. And why? It's an object of the gerund studying. So let's add the object particle 을. 한국말을. 한국말을. Studying. The entire phrase you Korean studying is going to be an object of the verb help. So the last word studying should be in a noun form. The basic form of the verb study is 공부하다. 공부하다. The stem is 공부하. How did you simply turn a stem into a noun form? What did you use? 공부하다 is a verb. Therefore, you just need to add 는 and 것. 는 것. 공부하는 것. 공부하는 것. Okay? Korean studying. 한국말을 공부하는 것. 한국말을 공부하는 것. The entire phrase is an object of the verb help. So you can add the object particle 을. One more time. 한국말을 공부하는 것을. 한국말을 공부하는 것을. 한국말을 공부하는 것을. Help be able to might. This is the important part, but it wouldn't be so difficult to make if you understand the structure of the Korean sentence. First of all, help. It's a verb. The original basic form of the verb help is 돕다. 돕다. With the final b consonant. But when you help someone, you normally use 도와주다. 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 It's a composition of the verb 돕다, which means to help, and 주다, which means to give. It's called a composition verb. You don't use this expression in English, but 도와주다 is like give or help. But you don't have to know the fact that it's a composition verb right now. Just memorize the entire 도와주다. 도와주다. And remember, it's used when you help someone. The stem of the verb 도와주다 is 도와주. 도와주. Right? Let's add the assistant verb to indicate that you have an ability. The final 르 consonant and 수 있어요. Right? But you don't need the ending 어요 here because it's not the end of the sentence. You need to add something to mean might. So 도와줄 수 있 is just fine. 도와줄 수 있. And let's add another assistant verb to mean there is a possibility. The last letter, it, before this, has a final consonant. Therefore, you add 을 sound plus 것 같아요. Right? 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. Might be able to help. Got it? 제가 Korean studying, 한국말을 공부하는 것을 help be able to might, 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말을 공부하는 것을 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말을 공부하는 것을 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말을 공부하는 것을 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. Perfect. Let's make it sound more natural in spoken Korean. Let's take out all the object particles and use 거 sound instead of 것 sound, which turn a verb into a noun form. 제가 한국말 공부하는 거 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말 공부하는 거 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말 공부하는 거 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. If you want to input a different subject than you for the clause you Korean studying, you can surely do that. You can input any proper form of someone's name or name plus job title and etc. You know that. Then let's make a higher respect form of this sentence. It's a little bit complicated than you expected, so listen carefully. You might want to ask how come you have to use a higher respect form since the main subject is I. You don't use a higher respect form for yourself. Yes, you're right, but we have a clause which has another subject you. You can use the higher respect form for a subject you. What is the action which is taken by the subject you? Yes, studying. So you can turn studying part into a higher respect form. You can simply add 시 sound to the original verb 공부하다. 공부하시다. 공부하시다. 공부하시 is the stem. And add 는 거. 공부하시는 거. 공부하시는 거. 제가 한국말 공부하시는 거. How about the main predicated part? 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. Is there any action which is taken by the subject of the clause you? No, there's not. Help is the action which is taken by the main subject I. 수, it part is also directly related to the main subject I. And 것 같아요 is a final judgment of the subject I. So, 제가 한국말 공부하시는 거 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. It's just fine. However, there's one more thing you should learn. We are going to learn how native Koreans actually say. It's a little bit complicated, so if it's too much for you, you can just use what you've just learned. It doesn't sound perfectly polite, but it sounds more polite than just a normal sentence by adding 시 sound to the action which is related to the subject you. But native Koreans do something to the verb of their own action to sound more polite. It's a very difficult concept, so please listen carefully. If you don't understand this, just skip it. You will learn about this later again. We told you that you should also think about the action or a noun which is related to the object of the sentence when you want to use a higher respect form. Remember? If the object of the sentence is someone who deserves higher respect forms, you should turn a noun or a verb which is directly related to the object into higher respect forms. It's more complicated than that, but just casually follow our explanation here. Let's take a close look at the main predicated part might be able to help. 도와줄 수 있을 것 같아요. One more time. The main verb help, 도와주다, is the action of the subject I. We both know that. Let's break it down again. 도와주다 is the composition of two verbs. 돕다, which means to help, and 주다, which means to give. So it roughly means give a help or give a hand. The action of helping itself is taken by the subject I. It's correct. But what is the object of the action give? Yes, you, the listener. So in Korean, in this case, you should use the higher respect form for the give part because the object who is receiving is the one who deserves higher respect form. But you don't have to turn help part into a higher respect form because it's the action of the main subject I. Got it? It applies to the verbs like give and ask. The higher respect form of the verb 주다, which means to give, is 드리다. 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 It's one of the special higher respect forms. 드리다. So you use 도와드리다 instead of 도와주다. Okay? 도와드리다. 을 수 있을 것 같아요 part is the same because it's all related to the main subject I. You don't have to change anything. So the stem of 도와드리다 is 도와드리. And final 르 consonant and 수 있을 것 같아요. 도와드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말 공부하시는 거 도와드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말 공부하시는 거 도와드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말 공부하시는 거 도와드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 한국말 공부하시는 거 도와드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. Perfect. You sound like native Koreans now. Let's see more examples for the combination of ability and possibility. I might be able to meet you tomorrow. This looks a little bit simpler. Let's rearrange the words first. The subject I comes first, and then time-related word tomorrow comes, and then the object you comes next. And then the predicative part, meet, be able to, might, comes at the end of the sentence. It's nothing, isn't it? Let's not mention the subject I, since it's the conversation between just the listener and you. Tomorrow, 내일, 내일. 내일 is a noun and a verb at the same time. Therefore, you don't have to add a particle. You don't add a particle to an adverb. You. Let's not mention the subject you because it's the conversation between just you and the listener. The listener already knows that you are talking to him or her. Meet, be able to, might. You put the stem of the main verb first in Korean and then add a stem of the assistant verb which indicates your ability and then add the assistant verb which expresses possibility with the ending 아요 or 어요. The basic form of the verb meet is 만나다. 만나다. 만나 is the stem. Since the last letter of the stem doesn't have a final consonant, you add the final L consonant and su it to indicate that the subject is able to do this. You don't add the ending 어요 to this because this is not the end of the sentence. Let's use 것 같아요 this time to express the possibility of this occasion. You add 을 sound first because the previous block, it, has a final consonant, and add 것 같아요 at the end. 만날 수 있을 것 같아요. 만날 수 있을 것 같아요. 만날 수 있을 것 같아요. Tomorrow, 내일, meet, be able to, might. 만날 수 있을 것 같아요. When someone asks you, can we meet tomorrow? You can answer, yes, tomorrow might be able to meet. 네, 내일 만날 수 있을 것 같아요. Okay? Then let's use 을지도 몰라요. You told someone that you cannot meet him or her tomorrow at first, but then your plan has changed, and now you think that you might be able to meet that person tomorrow, but not so sure. In this case, you can use 을지도 몰라요. You don't even need a further explanation, right? The stem 만나 plus final L consonant and 수, it plus 을지도 몰라요. 만날 수 있을지도 몰라요. 만날 수 있을지도 몰라요. 내일 만날 수 있을지도 몰라요. 내일 만날 수 있을지도 몰라요. Which exactly means I might be able to meet you tomorrow, but I don't know for sure. Then you can use 을 수도 있어요. 을 수도 있어요 to mean the same as 을지도 몰라요. Right? 만날 수 있을 수도 있어요. 만날 수 있을 수도 있어요. 내일 만날 수 있을 수도 있어요. 내일 만날 수 있을 수도 있어요. Which exactly means I might be able to meet you tomorrow or not. If you take a closer look at it, you can find out that this one has two 수 있다, 수 있어요. Right? 만날 수 있을 수도 있어요. It actually 수 있 and 수도 있어요. But you know that they are from the same 수 있다, 수 있어요, right? You should know that the first 수 있 indicates ability. And the second 수도 있어요 part expresses possibility. Okay? Now you understand how the Korean sentence structure works better and better, right? Very good. Then can you make a higher respect form of this sentence? No, you cannot make a higher respect form for this sentence because the subject is I and the verb meet is the action of the subject. You don't use a higher respect form for yourself. Actually, there are a lot of things you should know about higher respect forms and honorifics in Korean, but it would be too much for you. What you know about honorifics and higher respect forms now might be enough for you for now. You will learn about it again sometime later because it's the beauty of the Korean language anyway. Just not now. Let's see one more example. I might be able to do it, or I might be able to do that. The word order is going to be I, it, do, be able to, might in Korean, right? You don't have to mention the subject I if it's understood by the listener, but let's mention it this time to emphasize the fact that I am the one who can do it. What particle do you want to use? Yes, let's use the subject particle 가, 제가, 제가. Of course, you can use the auxiliary particle 는, 저는, but it will provide a nuance of comparing or contrasting, like you cannot do it, but I can do it. It. The direct translation of the pronoun it is 그것, 그것 in Korean. It indicates something that you and the listener both know what it is, even though you and the listener cannot see it right now. It's the object of the verb meet. So let's add the object particle 을, 그것을, 그것을, 그것을. Do, be able to, might. Do, 하다. The stem is 하. Let's use 을 것 같아요 for possibility. 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 할 수 있을 것 같아요. It's too easy for you now, right? I, 제가, it, 그것을, do, be able to, might. 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 그것을 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 제가 그것을 할 수 있을 것 같아요. This sentence is perfect, but it sounds like written Korean in a literary style. Let's make it sound more natural in spoken Korean. You can simply do that using 그거, 그거 instead of 그것 without the object particle. And let's use 을지도 몰라요 instead of 을 것 같아요 for possibility this time. 제가 그거 할 수 있을지도 몰라요. 제가 그거 할 수 있을지도 몰라요. I don't know for sure, but I might be able to do that. 제가 그거 할 수 있을지도 몰라요. 제가 그거 할 수 있을지도 몰라요. You can add the object particle 를 to 그거 in spoken Korean, of course. It would just sound like you want to emphasize the object, like, that's the thing that I can do. The postposition particles are used in Korean to indicate the exact usage of the word before it within the sentence. That's why sometimes it sounds like emphasizing that particular element which is added to it. Got it? Now let's learn about the combination of necessity and possibility. Let's see the English sentence first to see what we are talking about. You might have to wait until next year. Now you see what we are trying to explain here, right? We're talking about the possibility of something that you have to do or should do. In other words, you can use this when you give an opinion or advice that someone has to or should do something, okay? Let's rearrange the words. The subject you comes first, and then time-related word next year comes, but it has to come with the preposition until. As you know, there is no concept of preposition in Korean. It's normally substituted by the postposition particle. So let's put the preposition until right after next year. And then the predicated part comes. You can put the main verb wait first, and then put the necessity part have to, and then put your final judgment might, which expresses possibility at the end. You, next year until, wait have to might. Let's not translate the subject you as we don't normally. Next year. There is no one word noun for next year in English, but there is one word noun for next year in Korean. 내년, 내년. tomorrow is 내일. Next year is 내년. You don't have to know this right now, but 내 means coming, actually. It's from a Chinese word. In Korean, when one letter represents the meaning that a particular verb or a gerund has, it normally has a Chinese origin. Because in Chinese, you can make a verb with just one letter. So 내일, which means tomorrow, actually means coming day. And 내년, which means next year, actually means coming year. So you cannot use 내년 when you indicate the next year of a certain year in the future. 내년 means upcoming year from the current moment. Okay? Until. You can use the particle 까지 for the preposition until in this sentence. 까지. It has two letters, but it's a postposition particle like 은, 는, 이, 가, and 을. You use 까지 when you indicate the end of a certain range. So you can use 까지 for the destination too. For example, when you say you travel from Korea to Japan, you can use 까지 for the English preposition to, because Japan is the final destination, okay? Don't worry, you'll see or use this particle later again anyway. Wait, have to, might. This is the important part, but this is exactly the same as the combination of ability and possibility. So there is nothing new, nothing difficult. You just need to put the stem of the main verb wait first, and then the stem of the assistant verb which indicates necessity, and then put another assistant verb which expresses possibility. Let's use 을 것 같아요 first. The basic form of the main verb wait is 기다리다. In Korean, 기다리 is the stem. 기다리. And then let's add the assistant verb which indicates necessity. There are two ways to indicate necessity. What was that? 아야 하다, 어야 하다, 해야 하다. Or 아야 되다, 어야 되다, 해야 되다. Right? Remember? Let's use 하다 first. The last letter of the stem has 이 vowel. 기다리 이, which is a neutral vowel. Therefore, you should use 어야 하다 with 어 sound. But you don't need the ending 다 or 요 because this is not the end of the sentence. You still need to add another assistant verb which expresses possibility. The formal block 하 of 하다 doesn't have a final consonant. So you should add the final 르 consonant and 것 같아요. Okay? 기다리 plus 어야 하 plus 르 것 같아요. Let's put them together. 기다리어야 할 것 같아요. But you know that the ending 어 and 아 sound normally combine with the formal block when the formal block doesn't have a final consonant. Therefore, 리 and 어 sound should be combined together. 리 plus 어 sound becomes 리어, 려, 려 sound with 여 vowel, right? So it becomes 기다려야 할 것 같아요. 기다려야 할 것 같아요. But even though you forget to combine 리 and 어 sound and just say 기다려야 할 것 같아요, native Koreans understand perfectly what you're talking about. So don't worry too much. Next year until. 내년까지. Wait, have to, might. 기다려야 할 것 같아요. 내년까지 기다려야 할 것 같아요. 내년까지 기다려야 할 것 같아요. Wait what? I don't know, but you should wait until next year. You will learn conditional or subjunctive sentences sometime soon. Then you'll be able to make a perfect sentence with this. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's use 어야 되다 for necessity, have to this time. Next year until. 내년까지 part is the same. Wait, have to, might. The stem of the main verb wait is 기다리. And this time, let's add 어야 되다 for the have to part. But you don't need 다 or 어요 for this because this is not the end of the sentence. So 어야 돼 is enough. And add final 르 consonant plus 것 같아요. 기다리어야 될 것 같아요. 기다리어야 될 것 같아요. But again, you need to combine 리 and 어 sound together and make 려 sound. 기다려야 될 것 같아요. 기다려야 될 것 같아요. Next year until. 내년까지. Wait, have to, might. 기다려야 될 것 같아요. 내년까지 기다려야 될 것 같아요. 내년까지 기다려야 될 것 같아요. There's almost no difference between 기다려야 할 것 같아요 and 기다려야 될 것 같아요. But I personally think people use the second one more. It's totally your call though. Then let's use 을지도 몰라요 this time, which means you might have to do that, but I don't know for sure. With 어야 하다. 내년까지 is the same. The stem 기다리 plus 어야 하 plus final 르 consonant and 지도 몰라요. 기다리어야 할지도 몰라요. But 리 and 어 sound should be combined together this time too. So 기다려야 할지도 몰라요. 기다려야 할지도 몰라요 is correct. 내년까지 기다려야 할지도 몰라요. 내년까지 기다려야 할지도 몰라요. You might have to wait until next year, but not so sure. Then let's use 어야 되다 with 을지도 몰라요. Now you can do that yourself, right? 내년까지 기다려야 될지도 몰라요. 내년까지 기다려야 될지도 몰라요. 내년까지 기다려야 될지도 몰라요. Perfect. Then let's make a higher respect form. The subject is you. Let's say the listener is someone who deserves higher respect forms. This is a little bit tricky, so listen carefully. 내년까지 is the same. We told you that you need to find the predicate which is actually done by someone who deserves higher respect forms. In this case, the subject you is the one who deserves higher respect forms. So let's find the predicate which is actually done by the subject you. First of all, the main verb wait. 기다리다. Yes, it's the actual action which is done by the subject you. So let's turn it into the higher respect form first. You just need to simply add 시 sound to the stem. 기다리시다. 기다리시다. Then 기다리시 is the stem now. Let's use 어야 되다 for have to part. Then is this have to part the action done by the subject? It can be quite controversial, isn't it? It's not the action, but it's directly related to the main subject for sure. As we told you, there's no fixed rule for this in Korean and nobody knows the exact rule. So we want to say that you can either turn it into the higher respect form or not. But let's just turn 어야 돼 part into the higher respect form too because it's directly related to the subject you anyway. It would make the sentence sound more polite anyway. You can simply add 시 sound to the stem 돼. So 어야 돼 becomes 어야 되시. How about the last predicate 몰라요? As we told you, it actually means not know, which indicates that the speaker doesn't know for sure. So this is nothing to do with the subject you. You shouldn't think that it's the direct translation of the English auxiliary verb might, okay? And then let's just add final 르 consonant and 지도 몰라요. 기다리시어야 되실지도 몰라요. What is the letter right before the part of the ending sound this time? Yes, she is the one. So you need to combine she and sound together this time. And it becomes 셔 sound. So it becomes 기다리셔야 되실지도 몰라요. 기다리셔야 되실지도 몰라요. 내년까지 기다리셔야 되실지도 몰라요. 내년까지 기다리셔야 되실지도 몰라요. Perfect. On this page, let's learn a very useful phrase. Koreans use this phrase when they want to say what you just said might be a possibility, or what you've just said might be correct. Let's use a different approach this time. Let's take a look at the Korean sentence first. Let's read it together. 그럴 것 같아요. 그럴 것 같아요. Now you can find the stem without our help, right? You know the assistant verb part, final 르 consonant, plus 것 같아요 means you expect something. What is the stem then? Yes, 그러 is the stem. 그러. This stem 그러 is from the basic form 그렇다. The final 흐 consonant in the second block is actually silent, but it affects the sound of the next block and turn 드 sound in the next block into 트 sound. So it's actually pronounced 그렇다, 그렇다, instead of 그러다. The stem is 그러, as we told you, not because the final 흐 consonant is silent, but because it's actually from the basic form 그러하다, 그러하다. 그렇다 is actually the shortened form of the basic form 그러하다. 그렇다 is an adjective in Korean and there is no one-word English translation for this adjective. 그렇다 means something exists as you see or feel, or something happens as you expect it, or it can mean what you've said is correct. So you can use this adjective to mean yes, because yes can mean what you've just said is correct, especially in Korean, right? Or it can mean there is no change, or it can also mean not satisfied. You don't have to memorize all the meanings right now. Just casually take a look at the meanings. What you need to understand on this page is the first meaning and the second meaning, which are basically the same meaning. Something exists as you see or feel, or something happens as you expect it, or what you just said is correct. Now you can guess the meaning of the phrase 그럴 것 같아요, can you? It means what you've just said might be correct. If you want me to directly translate 그럴 것 같아요 into English, I'll say that might be it, or that might be the case. So be it, or be the case, part can be the adjective 그렇다. Do you understand? Do you remember when you learned about the sentence, why is that man angry like that? The translation of like that part was 그렇게, 그렇게. And 그렇게 is an adverb and it's from the adjective 그렇다. You know that you can make an adverb by adding 개 sound to the stem of an adjective, right? So you can find out how 그렇게 means like that, because adjective 그렇다 can mean something exists as you see or feel. That's how 그렇게 means like that. Make perfect sense, isn't it? Then let's see how you actually use this phrase in a real life conversation. Are you leaving tomorrow? Now you can make this kind of simple sentence, right? The basic form of the verb leave is 떠나다 in Korean, and 떠나 is the stem. Tomorrow, 내일, are leaving. It indicates the future tense actually, so let's use 을 거예요. 떠날 거예요. 떠날 거예요. 내일 떠날 거예요. Are you leaving tomorrow? Yes, I might be. Yes, 네. I might be. 그럴 것 같아요. 그럴 것 같아요. 네, 그럴 것 같아요. What you've just said might be correct. 네, 그럴 것 같아요. It might be the case. 네, 그럴 것 같아요. Okay? Now understand how you use this phrase? Okay, very good. Let's see more examples. Would it rain tomorrow? Actually, in Korean, you should say, would rain come tomorrow? Right? You learned about this before. The basic form of the verb come is 오다, as you know. So tomorrow, 내일, rain, 비가. Let's use the subject particle 가. 비가. Would come, 올 것 같아요? 내일 비가 올 것 같아요? Would rain come tomorrow? Yes, it might. 네. Let's use 을지도 몰라요, which means it might, but I don't know for sure. The stem 그러 plus the final 르 consonant and 지도 몰라요. 그럴지도 몰라요. 네, 그럴지도 몰라요. Yes, it might. 그럴지도 몰라요 sounds less confident than 그럴 것 같아요. You know that. Then you might already know that you can use 을 수도 있어요 instead of 을지도 몰라요, right? Will you be at home? The basic form of the verb which means to be at a location is 있다. So, home, 집에. Will be, 있을 거예요? 집에 있을 거예요? Will you be at home? Yes, I might. 네, 그럴 수도 있어요. 네, 그럴 수도 있어요. It might be a possibility, but not so sure. 네, 그럴 수도 있어요. Now you know how to use 그럴 것 같아요, 그럴지도 몰라요, and 그럴 수도 있어요. These phrases are very useful and Koreans use these phrases a lot. You don't have to make the entire sentence when you want to say what you've just said might be a possibility. Just use 그럴 것 같아요, 그럴지도 몰라요, or 그럴 수도 있어요. Okay, this is the end of lesson 7 part 6. You're going to learn how to express I think in Korean in the next video. 그럼 다음 비디오에서 만나요. 안녕히 계세요.